أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، اللهم صل وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم، ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه، هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Dear mu'mineen and mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Congratulations on this very happy and auspicious occasion of the birthday of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal as-salawat wa tahiyyat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst His sincere lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt. In fact, we say happy occasion. It was one of the happiest, in fact, occasions for Ahlul Bayt when he was born. He was the first grandson for Rasulullah and the first son of Imam Amirul Mu'mineen and Fatimatul Zahra Salamullah alayha. So his arrival, his birth, brought so much happiness to the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and house of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi afdal as-salawat wa tahiyyat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Two of the characteristics that I want to briefly speak about from the life of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal as-salawat wa tahiyyat, which he is very famous for. One is his forbearance, al-hilm, and one is his generosity, al-karam. Those two characteristics, in fact, were well displayed in the character of Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal salawat wa tahiyyat, although all of our Imams have all of these beautiful characteristics that they are titled and named with. However, some of them were known with certain characteristics due to their circumstances. As I said, for example, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam was known with Baqir al-Ulum. The rest of the Imams had the knowledge, but he had the opportunity due to his circumstances to spread the knowledge, so he became al-Baqir. Imam al-Kadhim, Imam al-Jawad, every one of them, those characteristics and those titles they earned, not because others did not have them, but because of their circumstances that displayed those characteristics so much. Imam al-Mujtaba, or Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal as-salawat wa tahiyyat, had two very famous characteristics. One of them is al-hilm. And again, my brothers and sisters, when we speak of the Imams, it is significant and important that we learn from them, not just share that our Imams were so great, they were so good, they had the best ethics and morals, they had the best faith, they were the best in ibadah. But what are we doing? None of that. that is not really our Imam, if that's how we look at it. We should at least do as much as we can to mimic them, to copy them, and that is the real meaning of imamah and ma'moom, the leader and the led. If we are led by the imams, we should be followers of the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een. One of the examples that I want to share, and I want to be brief on the hilm and give a little more on the karam of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal salawat wa tahiyyat. One of the great examples of his hilm is when a man came from Sham. Last night we discussed how the cursed Muawiyah played a plot and paid the army generals of Imam Hasan in order to change them and bring them towards him, and therefore there was no way or no reason or no purpose for the Imam to fight a losing battle and lose everything basically. So he agreed to have a peace treaty with Muawiyah to set certain conditions to expose Muawiyah in fact. However, Muawiyah came back to his city in Sham, and in there he was propagating, and basically his media machine was working against Ahlul Bayt to the degree that some of you may be aware, when Imam Amirul Mu'mineen was struck in the mihrab and he was martyred, the people of Sham were surprised that he was in the mihrab. They said, we did not think Ali alayhi salam, they did not say the alayhi salam part, they did not think that he prayed. They were surprised, what is he doing in the masjid? So the same thing applied to the life of Imam Hasan. The fabrication machine and the propaganda and the media was working so hard against Imam Hasan alayhi salam, and therefore a man came from Sham. This man had faith and he was a real believer, but he was under the impression that Imam Hasan was such a tyrant and an oppressor, and he was under the impression that he was not a religious person in fact, and he had no ethics, no morals and so on, based on all the basically the media and the talks that they had from the Manabir in Sham. So he came and took it upon himself to actually come and attack the Imam verbally, abuse the Imam verbally. And he acted like, I would say, a suicider. Basically, he came thinking that he's doing jihad. He is now fighting his nafs because he thought he would be killed. So he came out and displayed so much disrespect to the Imam, and he thought he was so brave and he thought he would be killed. And he realized that none of that happened. Instead, after all his abuse to the Imam and to the father of the Imam, so to Imam Hasan alayhi salam and to Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, abuse after abuse. When he was done, in fact, narrators say that some of the companions of Imam Hasan alayhi salam said to him, let us teach him a lesson, let us basically stop him. And the Imam said to them, leave him, let him say whatever he has to say. When he was done, the Imam says to him, it seems to us that you're a stranger. It seems to us that you're not from this land. And since you are a stranger, I would invite you to my home. We have a good place. You can stay with us. If you're hungry, we feed you. If you're thirsty, we give you water. If you have ran out of your money, because as a traveler sometimes in the past it used to happen where people would travel and they would be either basically robbed and therefore they have no money, or sometimes their budgeting does not work right and they run out of money. And that's the concept of Ibn Sabil in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says sadaqat can be given to these certain groups. One of them is Ibn Sabil. Ibn Sabil is basically a traveler who was stranded, basically stuck without, he ran out of his money or robbed or something, and he is poor now. Not because he's poor in his home, but where he is now, he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the means, and therefore he deserves sadaqat. The Imam says to him, if you have run out of money, we can help you. If you're hungry, we feed you. If whatever it is, come to our home. You'll find it very open for you. So the man seeing that kind of a response, he says, I bear witness that before I saw you and before I spoke to you and before your response to me, you were the most detested, you and your father were the most detested people on the face of the earth in my heart. And after I have seen your reaction, you are the most beloved person on the face of the earth to my heart. Why? Because he could not expect that someone with that position, he had a position of power and influence, the Imam had. And he had companions. He could get his sword, or any of the companions could get their sword and even teach this man a lesson that he send him, maybe in their view, send him to hell or something. But instead they guided him. Instead they should display the best example through the hilm of Imam Hassan. Perhaps the man seeing the genuineness in the face of the Imam, this is the hilm that we're speaking of. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity to have gaze our eyes on our Imam, our present Imam, Ajjalallah ta'ala farajahu sharif, to see the beauty in the actions and the reactions and the face of the Imam and the way he is so loving and approachable. Seeing how the Imam was, the man turned, completely changed his vision. Instead, he started cursing Muawiyah and the father and the family of Muawiyah. You can see how it changed completely through the hilm of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. This is an example. Perhaps, my brothers and sisters, this story, no matter how often I narrate it, it is always fresh to me and it's always a great reminder for me. And I hope it is the same for all of us, that we need to be inspired by this story. When we deal with people, we need to have those characteristics, the hilm, the forbearance, and the patience of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Perhaps if it rubs onto us and we become a little more patient and forbearing with people around us. The second characteristic that I want to share of the very famous, in fact, characteristics of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is his generosity. Generosity of Imam Hassan displayed his extreme zuhd. We spoke of zuhd in this month. Zuhd, again, my brothers and sisters, is not to abandon dunya, no. The Imam had wealth, and people would come to him and gift him, and he had trade. After all, they were children or grandchildren of Rasulullah, who made the trade of Khadija so powerful, so much better. And they are grandchildren of Khadija salamullah alayha. They were tradesmen by nature, and they knew how to do it, and therefore they had wealth. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt, when they had the opportunity, they had it, especially Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They had wealth, especially being the grandchildren of the Prophet. People would come and gift them. He was not abandoning the wealth. Instead, he would give it to whoever comes to him in such a way. This is the detachment that I was speaking of. Zuhd, it was displayed in the character of Imam Hassan alayhi salam so well that when he would be approached by people, he would not hesitate, give anything. And I say anything. Examples would show us how openly and how easily it was for them giving. How generous they were. In one of the incidents, he was sent a letter by the cursed Muawiyah saying to him, you know, giving is good, but you need to, when you give so much, basically you need to be wise in giving, because when you give so much, it's no longer good, it displays naiveness or something of that nature. The Imam responded to him. He said to him, when you do good, giving is good. When you do good, there is no limit for it. when you are giving, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the cursed Muawiyah was using a verse from the Holy Quran, that you need to basically not open your hand completely. The Imam said, yes, when you're spending on yourself, you would not open your hand completely, and don't close it completely. Don't choke yourself, neither open it completely until you run out of money. So have economy. But when it comes to good deeds, there is no accountability. You don't do accounting. You don't start calculating how much did I give. No, when it comes to sadaqat, give without any fear. That ayah does not apply to sadaqat. Anybody who thinks that you have to have a balance in sadaqat is completely mistaken. You know why? I'll give you the response very simply through the words of the Imam and through the Holy Quran. Through the Holy Quran, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about sadaqat? What does He do with them? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do with our sadaqat when we give sadaqat? Doubles it? 7 times? Is that it? 700 times? Is that it? Wallahu yudha'ifu. In that ayah, He says He multiplies it. After saying one seed is like, that one good thing, one sadaqah, is like a seed that has 7 stems. In each stem, 100 seeds. And then He says, Wallahu yudha'ifu, and God multiplies. So the least is 7 or 1400. Or more. Multiplies, yudha'ifu, could be 1 da'if, 2 da'if, 3, more, Allahu a'lam. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it. We know that for sure. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافًا. He multiplies it multiples, not just one. Multiples. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising that He would multiply. Yet we think, if I give so much sadaqat, I'm going to be poor. Who promises poverty? Isn't it shaitan? الشيطان يعدكم الفقر. It is shaitan that promises poverty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا. He promises forgiveness when you give. إن الحسنات يذهبن السيئات. Good deeds take away, wipe away the bad deeds. Sadaqat wipe away. مغفرة منه وفضلا, and bounties. This is the reality of it. An example of that type of giving of Imam Hasan alayhi salam is a land he sold to some people. He bought from some people from Ansar in Medina. Ansar had a piece of land. He bought it from them. They needed to sell. They came to him. How much? They made a deal. The narration narrates how much it was purchased for, a very significant amount. Like, let's say you find a big piece of land today and you pay a few $1 million for it, okay? And then he heard, listen to this, he heard that these people from Ansar became needy. They somehow did not manage their funds well, or whatever happened to them, struck by calamities, they became needy. So what does he do? He gives them back the piece of land. After he had purchased it and paid for it, the significant amount that he paid, he heard. It's not that they came to him and said, we need something. He heard that they needed, they became needy, he gave it to them, back to them. That's another example. Another one is the farm that he gave to one of his slaves simply because of a good act. The slave was feeding a dog. The Imam says to him, it's yours. Why? Because he says, I saw you eating and feeding from your food, feeding the dog. He said, yes, I was hungry and the dog was hungry. I could not eat and watch him remain hungry. So the Imam says to him, you know what? This land, this farm that you're in is yours. And he gives him money on top so he can survive until he starts establishing himself. This is the Imam of Ahlul Bayt. More and more generosity. A man comes to him And he says to him very beautifully, he says, I ask you by what God has given you and the generosity that He has given you and the ni'am that He has given you. I ask you by all what God has given you, your status, that you help me against my enemy. I have an enemy that wouldn't leave me alone. He said to him, the Imam, the narration says the Imam came up, say, who's your enemy? Tell me. So the man said to him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, it's poverty. Narration says the Imam put his head down, because poverty is a bad enemy. Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke of poverty, and he said, if it was a person, I would have killed it. لو كان الفقر رجلا لقتلته. If it was a person, I would have killed that person. That's because of how nasty it is, to have a position that you need to come out and ask. It's not easy. So the Imam says to his servant, go find whatever we have, bring it to him. They said, we have 5,000 dirham. He said, give it to him. And then he says, I beg you. The Imam tells the man, by whatever you asked me, all the things that you asked me and asked me by, that if your enemy ever comes back to you, you come back to me. And I'll make sure this is, look at, he gives him all what he gives him and doesn't think, we've given you so much, so now go and never come back. No. He tells him, I beg you, by the things that you asked me, if this enemy of yours ever comes to you, you come back to me. This is another one, and the last one I want to share with you is a narration that really makes us think about giving and the state of giving and the poor and needy and who is doing who a favor. I want us to think about this. We have a couple of minutes. Let's think about it properly. In the hadith, he is asked. They said to him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, why is it that you give so much? And people ask you and you give them more than they've even asked you. A man comes and asks you for a specific debt to pay it off, you pay him double his debt, and on top of that you pay him more. Why? He said to them in a long narration, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said to them, do you realize what kind of a transaction is going on between you and the person you're giving? He says, this man perhaps did not sleep the night before he came to ask. And he was tossing and turning and thinking to himself, do I ask? Do I not ask? What if I ask and I'm turned away empty-handed? Or would I be given? How much would I be given? And he is thinking about it, constantly stressing over it. And then the Imam says, then he comes to you. وَتَرْتَعِدُ فَرَائِصُهُ. He's shivering within himself. All his joints in his body are shaking. He is shaking and shivering. It may not display to you. You may not see it. But he has come as far as asking, and he is shivering deep within himself. So much stress is happening in today's terms, if you want to paraphrase that. تَرْتَعِدُ فَرَائِصُهُ. He is stressing so much. What would he think of me? How would he respond to me? Is he going to humiliate me? Is he going to give me? Is he going to give me as much as I asked? Or is he going to give me something, as we say in Arabic, and they say, rafa atab. Just give me something to say, just go. We gave you. Which one of those is it? He says, with all that you're putting him through, and he's coming to ask you, giving is the easiest part. You see? You see the transaction? He says, all he's going through, how difficult is giving when you have it? Is it really difficult? It's the easiest part. The easiest part of the transaction. In another narration, he says he sold you his ma'a wajhih, his respect. In Farsi we say abaru. In Arabic, ma'ul wajh. His respect, he sold it to you. And all you're giving him is some dananir and darahim, some dollars or cents or pennies. It is nothing compared to what he's giving to you. And the opportunity that he is giving you. Because he says, he ra'aka lil ma'rufi ahla. After his tossing and turning, if he thought that you would be the type that would never give, he would not come and ask, would he? So he had some hope in you, or a lot of hope in you, at least some, maybe a lot of hope, maybe at least some, that you are a person of ma'ruf, of generosity. He found you that. So you're doing the easy part of the transaction. If we think of it this way, my brothers and sisters, giving becomes a lot easier. Especially, and a side note for those that do the asking when it comes for projects that it's not for themselves, asking for orphans, asking for them Islamic centers, asking for projects, anything of that nature. When they come and ask, the easiest part of the transaction is what you are doing, if you give inshallah, and that is your opportunity. They have done you a favor and given you an opportunity to be generous and to give. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us learn from the school of Imam Hasan alayhi salam how we can be generous and how we can give and how we can detach from what God has given us in terms of the dunya. As he says, this is the character of muttaqeen that would be guided through the Holy Quran. We ask him to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.